education. I've been an engineer and a product manager at companies like Microsoft, PayPal, Citrix. I'm now with a company that has just turned into a unicorn. I've also had some experience running my own startup called Build Me a Home. It was fairly lean and profitable as well. So yeah, I mean, for those of you who'd like to connect on my LinkedIn, please feel free to use the link here. I'm happy to share the presentation after, and yeah, we can. You guys can feel free to connect with me. Now, before I get into the details of what, um, before what we need to, what are the steps for you to become a stellar product manager? I'd like to walk through some basics here, right? So yeah, I will start with what some of the basics of product management are, what you'll need to do and what frameworks you'll need to use to succeed here. Now, to start with, what product management entails as a whole is the discipline of guiding it from ideation to market, right? Now, keep in mind the practical life experiences might be slightly different. When you come in as a product manager to any organization, they're not going to be like, hey, build the next WhatsApp or Facebook, right? That's not how things work. You might be getting into a product that's fairly mature, that might be, at the stage of even sunsetting even, right? So different facets of experience comes across here. So the evolution of product management skills is essentially does look like this. So it used to be a part of business technology and an integration between business technology and customer. What I mean by that is you essentially understand what the customer needs and understand what your businesses can provide and what the technology can cater to, right? But in today's world, the product management in general has changed a lot, which means that it is a multi-faceted, skilled sort of job, which means that you'll need to talk to marketing, sales, business operations, customer success, finance support, and you name it, right? So yeah, moving up, you must have seen this. You must have seen this meme quite a lot, where there are different definitions of product manager, and when you tell that you're a product manager at a particular company, different people have different, different. Thought processes, right? There are a few things that when I initially said that I'm a product manager at Citrix or any other company, some of my friends thought I was actually managing people, but I was, right? And yeah, of course, this is definitely what my mom thinks I do. But yeah, most often than not, you're running around like headless chickens, and while there is not, there is some truth to it. There are ways and structures that you can use to make things much better for yourself. Now, why? Before we get into the nitty-gritties of you becoming a stellar PM, let's understand some of the reasons why you should not choose product management and why it is probably not for you, right? For those of you who think, I don't want to code, I don't want to do technical work, which is why I'm choosing PM, it's probably not the right fit, right? And also there is a sense of, following a trend, so to speak. It happens to a lot of us, right? Um, so, probably if you're following a trend that, oh, you know what, PM is a glamorous role, and, I can probably, thrive in this role because you don't know much about it, you'll probably be taken aback with the number of challenges and how demanding this role is. And while there is some truth to some folks who have made a quick career advancement in the product management role, it does not hold good with everybody, right? There have been few folks who I know who moved from being a product manager at a beginner level and transitioned all the way into a staff product manager really quickly, like in about 3 or 4 years. But that does not happen every day. It's like winning a lottery ticket, guys. Just because your neighbor won it, the whole city can buy it and nobody can win it, right? It's a situation like that. And yeah, the compensation is about all right, but I think we'll keep that discussion for another day. Let's move into why you should consider becoming a PM. Now, one of the main reasons why you would want to pick being a PM is because you will grow horizontally. What I mean by that is you will have the domain and the product knowledge, you will have people skills, and you will have process and understanding of technologies as well. Like I said, this sits as an amalgamation or at an integrated level of businesses, technologies, and customers, right? So you will have a good understanding of what each one of it or what each one of it offers, which is why you'll also see a lot of entrepreneurs, and you'll also see a lot of CEOs who have had product management background. Popular examples are Satya Nadella and the and Google CEO Sundar Pichai as well, right? And roughly about 30% of the founders have had product management experience in some capacity or the other, right? And this is definitely a high impact role. What I mean by that is you will shape how the product will look like. You will be involved in building the product, and you will be involved in shipping the product as well. So yeah, these three are the primary reasons why you should consider becoming a PM. Um, so yeah, let's move to. I know that the audience here is fairly there are a few people who do want to get into product management. So I do want to touch base on this. I know that there are a lot of resources already, but I'm going to give you some primary or some real life examples of how you need to you know get your foot through the door or get that first call. Right now, the first step obviously is for you to understand what PMing is. What I mean by that is you need to understand every cycle of what a product lifecycle management looks like. It starts from understanding what the customer requirements is, and all the way till daily deployments, weekly deployments, you name it. Right, it's the entire full cycle that you need to get an understanding of. And I would also recommend most product managers who primarily belong to the software industry to get a good hang of what software development lifecycle looks like as well. Right. The next thing for you is for you to get prepared for the interview. Right now, this means that you need to start working on getting a good understanding of system design. System design is your friend, guys. You need to excessively obsess over this and make sure that you get a good hang of this, because for beginners it will teach you a good disciplined way of understanding how to gather functional requirements, non-functional requirements, what your performance indicators are, and what your customer estimation or your capacity estimation should look like, writing up user stories, and getting a good understanding of your technical design and performance restrictions as well. So it is a great start for you to use. But with respect to product sense, RCA, and guesstimates, there are varied questions that basically it's more to do with the approach than the actual resolution of the problem itself. So I would also recommend going through product sense, RCA, and guesstimates. And for behavioral, which is quite important for your interviews, make sure that you go through the 16 principles of leadership. You can get it on the Amazon website or anywhere else as well. These are values like think big, being customer obsessed, caring about your team, growing as a leader, and whatnot, right? So for each one of these 14 principles, let's say if you have one work experience story, it can be for college graduates, it can be as simple as leading your project, team members, or building something new, or anything of that sort, right? So if you have each one for each of these 14 or 16 leadership principles, it becomes a lot easier for you to understand and answer these kind of behavioral questions, right? You'll get plenty of this. You'll get questions typically like, oh, tell me about a time when you led a team and you failed and you didn't do well, and stuff like that. So yeah, the last most important thing is for you to build a network, um, get an understanding of what top level product managers are doing, and build a rock solid resume, guys. This is how you get your foot through the door. When I say rock solid resume, make sure that you add data points, right? Like things like you improved 10x of customer experience, or increased customer retention by 15%, or increased acquisition by 18%, or something like that, right? You will need data points, and there are ways to do this. And there are plenty of tools out there that can help you do this. Build a rock solid resume, and make sure that you alter and your resume in such a way that it um, depicts your ability to become a PM if you don't have the product management experience in general. Now, coming to the meat of this presentation, I've provided with a 10-step formula for you to become a stellar PM. Now that we've touched as how to get into the product manager role, let's understand how to succeed here, right? Now, these are 10 different values. There are some hard skills and there are some soft skills. I will tell you which ones are the most important. And of course, I will share this presentation with you as well. So let's start off. The first and the most important thing that you should take out of this presentation is you being customer obsessed. And this is super duper critical, guys. Um, Being customer obsessed will help you succeed as a product manager, will help you succeed as an engineer, will help you succeed as an executive, or will help you succeed as an entrepreneur. This is the single most important value for you to succeed as a product manager, or even as as an executive, or an entrepreneur, right? Now, this is one of the most important values for some of the major competitors as well. What I mean by that is for some major companies as well. What I mean by that is Amazon, PayPal, Microsoft, all of these companies are highly, customer obsessed. What I mean by that is they understand what the customer needs and then they go backwards, right? Which is not typically the case with a lot of companies where they build products and then they try to fit it to a customer problem, which is where you will hear a lot of buzzwords of product market fit, right? This is what it essentially is when you understand what the customer needs and then you build it. Like it's like connecting the dots backwards, right? um, so yeah, how do you go about becoming customer obsessed? Number one is you understand what they need, right? Dealing with every little detail of customer experience. Now, the third most important thing about being customer obsessed is making sure that you are talking to customers yourself, and that you're not relying on another person for you to get customer feedback, right? That's the most important thing. And always relying on customer quality over quantity, and making everything to make sure that you have you're meeting all the metrics for customer satisfaction in general. I will touch on a few KPIs that will help you understand how to make sure that you are able to get through proper customer success metrics as well. Okay, so the next most important thing is for you to develop technical skills. Now, I know that I already mentioned earlier that you should not take the product manager role because you want to stay away from being highly technical. Being technical always almost helps. And remember, guys, most often than not, the ideas or the features that you want to incept and you want to bring into real life is built by engineers, and engineers are technical, and the only way that you will get them to build what you want them to build is by garnering their respect. And the easiest way to do it is to being fairly technical yourself. I'm not asking you to go write code, but you should understand what they're trying to build, what the limitations of the platforms are. So yeah, in terms of technical skills, it's also important for you to understand all these three aspects. What I mean by that is you will need to design prototypes and wireframes, and you will need to understand design tools like Figma, right? It's important for you to bring your creativity into real life as well. And in terms of technology, things like project management tools, understanding, doing some high level code reviews can also be kind of helpful. And of course, you can also understand what different risk management techniques are for you to understand what the business aspects of technical skills you'll need here as well. So again, it's an intersection of all the three, but then the whole point is that regardless of what tool you need to learn, make sure that you spend enough time to understand, to get through the tools, and you are able to use it day in and day out. The next important thing for you to become a stellar product manager is for you to make data-driven decisions. This is important for all of us, guys, right? Like, I mean, I think we do this every day, even with our lives, right? Like, just let's say, you want to have a good, movie viewing experience, right? You typically be like, oh, you know what, if I were to go enjoy the movie myself and beat the crowd, you would want to take the first show on a weekday, right, which is on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I'm just saying this is based off data. I'm tying this back into our customer service metrics, where I was talking about customer obsession. So if you have to succeed as a product manager who's customer obsessed, you need these metrics, right? These are simple metrics. These are customer satisfaction rate, customer acquisition rate, customer retention rate, first response time in terms of support, and net promoter score, and customer churn rate. Now, keep in mind, guys, these will also act as your North Star metrics when you're interviewing as well, because when they ask you to design a system, or say when you're going through any kind of guesstimate questions or any product sense questions, you will have to measure the success of the product by using metrics, right? So that's exactly why you will need metrics to define where you're lagging and where you're leading as a product manager. Now, this is the typical framework that most product managers will use for data decision making, which is where they define some KPIs, visualize the leading and lagging indicators, and take action plans accordingly and keep reiterating it. So that's about decision-driven decisions. Kushal, would you like me to take a pause and maybe uh, give a couple of minutes for people to ask any questions here?
Sounds good, Gus. As folks,
Do any
in
of you
case you have
have
any
any
questions,
questions?
yeah, please unmute yourself. You have the access, or you could drop the questions in the chat section as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
I think this is, I'm hoping this is not going to be death by presentation, so we'll see.
All good
All
so
right,
far.
guys. The next most important thing is for you to have ruthless prioritization. Let's say you do get in as a product manager. This can even be for people uh, who are in the industry, right? A lot of product managers actually struggle uh, with this one task of prioritization. When I say prioritization, it's not just task prioritization, it's also prioritization to do with your work as well. So let's widely split it as prioritization of your own time and prioritization of the task or the deliverables that you need your engineering team or any other teams to deliver, right? uh, Vampires are afraid of sunlight, and you know what, Superman is afraid of kryptonites, and product managers are definitely afraid of meetings, and I can tell you this from my own experience. uh, Now, again, there have been instances when I've been straight up on meetings for 7 or 8 hours. It is draining and exhausting and does not leave you with any scope of doing, work that matters at the end of the day, right? So you want to make it a point that you become ruthless at prioritization. So the number one aspect of prioritization for your own personal time is to set up focus time, guys. So make it a point that you block 2 hours of your calendar every day. I know it's easier said than done, especially for product managers, because you get dragged into a lot of meetings. But this is a change this is a team culture sort of thing, right? That you need to kind of bring in excessively, and make sure that everybody's following it. So if it's between 10 and 12, right, let's say right after your stand up and your other sprint ceremony meetings, make it a point that you have blocked 2 hours, and make sure you use the time to write up your product specifications, clear up your Jira boards, or any project management tools that you use. Make sure that you're gathering your customer requirements, and have any kind of follow-up for any other meetings, writing up your newsletters and stuff like that. This is entirely the time that you dedicate to yourself, and you will not answer pings or anything of that sort, right? So make sure that you make it a habit to block your calendar for about 2 hours in a day, and the rest 6 hours can be in meetings and collaboration and whatnot. And for your task, This is typically, these are two models that you would use to kind of prioritize your task. The first one is called the RISE model, easier to remember, where you take any scope of work, understand what its reach is going to be, meaning like, for example, how many people is this particular feature going to affect, right? And how long or how many people will in one particular period of time, how long it's going to bring, right? And in terms of impact, how much will this impact for every user, right? Like, is it a massive impact? Is it a high impact? You can give it numbers, right? There are also estimations like, t-shirt sizing and whatnot, but that's a session for another day. And that's more to do with, how you manage your scrums and, your agile teams and how they go about estimation. But this is just high level information for, or high level frameworks for you to understand and use in your everyday work. And what kind of confidence do you have in terms of, whether your engineering teams will be able to deliver it or not, and what kind of effort it takes. Now, this is particularly important because this also helps you play an important role during estimations. As you start getting very good at this, your estimations will get very accurate and your risk management becomes much easier. What I mean by that is, there will not be slip through the cracks, there will not be spillovers. So yeah, you will be able to effectively manage. And for low level tasks, I would typically use the value versus effort impact, right? Which means that what is the value that the this particular story or this particular feature is bringing in, and what is the effort that it takes. I would always focus on this part where it's low effort but high value, right? These are essentially low hanging fruits, as you call it, and you must have heard it multiple times in your company as well. So this is about ruthless prioritization. Next up is using your project management tools. I know that there were a few questions in the chat. I'm going to kind of try and wind this up in the next 5 minutes so we can open it up for discussions, guys. Okay. There are different types of headaches. The biggest headache is prioritization in Jira, right? And I can tell you this with my own experience. If you are not well versed with your project management tools like Jira or Asana or Trello or whichever tool that you're using, you're likely going to be struggling. And this is because your resource management, your risk management, your analysis, and your reporting, all of this happens through this particular tool. And this by far is, for in terms of daily operations, project management tools is the most important thing that you'll need to learn. Now, the reason why I've named all of these different factors for you to become a stellar PM is because I have personally made most of these mistakes myself, and I've learned it the hard way, right? So this is for you to gain, easy, insightful experience insights, I would say. So yeah, make sure that, when you get into an organization, spend a couple of weeks getting a good hang of the project management tools, understand how the reports work, understand how you go about creating dashboard, understand how the analytics work, understand how, how you can build the sprint metrics on your project management tools. The reason why it's also important for you to understand project management tools is because in some organizations, there is no difference between a project manager, a product manager, and a program manager, and they call this term as product owner, and they expect them to do about everything. So it's always good for you to know to have good project management skills handy. All right, let's come to the not so pleasant parts of product management, right? Which are essentially, you will things will go south, right? Regardless of how efficient and good you are at your work, things will go south because, there are things that happen that are above your pay grade. Prioritizations change, priorities change, and they come back. Your leadership may come back to you with different, priorities, and you'll have to drop your work. And then, you are caught up between the conflict between your engineering teams, what your leadership is saying, and what your manager wants to do, and what you want to do. And there will be several instances where you will have to have difficult and hard conversations, right? And there is no efficient sort of framework to this. I would say, and this is more of based of experience and how you handle things as a person. But if we were to look at the few basic aspects to this, there are two important things. One is approaching conflict management as well as dealing with hard conversations from a neutral perspective. What I mean by that is you truly put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're trying to achieve. And that's how you would go about dealing with hard conversations. And as a true introspective, right, you would do the 5 whys, right? This is what I would typically do, right? Let's say, something did not get delivered. I would ask why 5 times. Why was it not delivered? And when I get the answer to something, let's say, because we had a capacity crunch, I would say, why did we have a capacity crunch? Because we had a couple of people on leave. And so if we had a couple of people on leave, why didn't we, prioritize well, right? And then it boils down to us not doing capacity management well. And then finally you come to a conclusion that, oh, you know what, if you had 2 engineers on leave, you'd probably plan for these many story estimates lesser or so on, right? So you basically ask these 5 whys, and this kind of works pretty well. And when you have a true answer to a particular problem, it becomes much easier to kind of, go about dealing with conflict management. Of course, it's a whole different problem dealing with, superlative egos, but that's for another day, I guess. And yes, it is important for product managers to be deep in their product, be the product, and be real, right? You may be asked a lot of amazing questions in your interviews about, oh, build Facebook, and build the system design of a Facebook, or tell me how you would build another Facebook. But real work will have a different, you'll have to approach it with a different perspective altogether. What I mean by that is there will be unsexy problems, mathematical problems, or simple. You might be in a huge company like SAP, and they may be dealing with a legacy ERP product, and you might be the product manager for that, and they might be using legacy UX frameworks and legacy backend services, and dealing with them is challenging in itself. So yeah, you will have to be real. And in terms of going deep, there are five pillars of competency, right? There's functional, technical, domain or industry, and just basic business management or project competency, and human competency. The most important for product managers is functional competency and industry competency, followed by technical and project management competency, and then human competency. Because up until in terms of direct people management, till the time you probably become a principal product manager, you'll unlikely have people reporting into you, and this will still be a relatively independent contributor role, I would say. So yes, going deep. And yeah, when you are in a high kind of pressure project, everybody will expect you to know all the answers, and this can get pretty intimidating and annoying at the same time. And there will be anxious moments. But remember, guys, things will go crazy, products will come and go, but the way that you make people feel is what will stay with people. And from a quantitative standpoint, growth comes as a combination of likability as well as credibility. So you have to keep this in mind, right? When you are growing, you want teams to be rooting for you, right? And not be like, oh, I don't know why a particular somebody was promoted versus, you know what, they absolutely deserve it and I support them. Awesome. Coming to our last point, which is, having a growth mindset. This is a cultural thing that sticks very strongly at Microsoft, and most other organizations that are huge. It's how you go about continuously learning, right? And the framework to do that is simply to understand what the organizational and the market demands are and what your skills are, right? This is a framework that I typically use as to where I stand in today's market. For example, if I were to understand where I stand in AI and ML, it's like, oh, I probably still have so much more to learn. So that's where I would place myself, and make sure that, I apply growth mindset and I'm continuously learning. There are different frameworks as well where you can do this on a daily basis on improving your everyday performance as well. You can make a quick journal about what you did well today, what went wrong, and what can you do to make it better, right? This is typically what you would do at a retrospective as well, and this you can apply this for your PMing career as well. And of course, don't forget humility. Learn from everybody. There's always something to learn. Learn from the systems. Learn from your customers. Learn from your colleagues, and learn from everybody else as well. And the most important thing is there is no task that is beneath us, and it can be as simple as updating a small little line on a newsletter, or just uploading a video on some particular page, right? I'm just giving you vague examples of things or tasks that you think is trivial. There's no such thing as trivial tasks, and as a product manager, you should do everything in your capacity to make sure that your team is succeeding. So yeah. Again, I know this might be slightly sort of controversial, and some of you may feel that you need passion to succeed. Yes, passion is crucial, but it's definitely not the only ingredient for success. And you will have to understand that for a long-term success, you will definitely need grit and resilience. That's the most important part, right? Passion will wear away. Trust me, you can build the super awesome product, and you will have one or two customers that will absolutely beat the crap out of it, and passion will definitely go down the drain, but resilience will keep you up. So yeah, I hope this is not death by PowerPoint, and if you I will open it up for questions now, guys. Let me stop sharing. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
I know
Vikas.
this was probably, I don't know if this was information overload, but yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Vikas, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Hi, please go ahead.
Okay, so I first of all thank you for sharing your experience, and it was actually insightful. But
Thank you.
if I want, so you, as you were saying, you were into development and engineering. How did you yourself discover that you want to go into product management? Or like
Good.
you showed us, I don't want to go to because of this. That's a very insight. But how personally did you get into this journey?
Good question, Chanika. So the way that it was sort of a natural progression for me. So so the organization that I was working with did not even have product managers, right? And then I kind of transitioned. And it was a very common thing back in the day. Just so you know, I have like 14 plus of years of experience, and I've been working on legacy products like even IBM, frameworks and whatnot. But anyways, it was more of a natural transition for me. And when I was first offered, saying like, oh, my manager came up to me and said, hey, would you like to be the product manager? And I was like, wow, oh, I'm going to be a product manager. I was actually taken aback because it was a market trend. It was just trending, like yeah, there were a lot of product management jobs that were coming up, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But I did realize that it is a challenging role. But to answer your question, it came pretty naturally to me. But I was, to be completely honest with you, I was drawn by the fact that, oh, there is a manager tag associated, so I'm going to have more powers or something like that. But it wasn't it was a flawed thought process, I would say, for me.
Okay. That's thank you. That's like that's good to know. Like everybody comes up with their experience, and sometimes things work out because of time, and sometimes you figure it out yourself. So
yeah, I think one thing that you guys do have to remember is that there's no such in terms of product management and engineering, because they're so closely tied, right? Like what is important for you to remember is that you can always switch back, because I was a product manager at at Microsoft. And I thought, you know what, maybe I should go back to engineering management and see how this feels like. So I actually went back to becoming an engineering manager from being a product manager. So there is no such thing that, oh, if you have now chosen product management, that's the only thing you're going to be doing. That's not true. You can always switch careers, and and it's completely fine.
Oh, that's something new.
Yeah.
And
I know a lot of people don't think about it this way. Engineering and and product management are tied. And let's say I know for a fact that my manager at Microsoft used to be a principal engineering manager and then became a principal product manager. And it's completely normal, happens all the time.
I have heard going
Mhm.
from engineering to product. Yes, I
Yeah.
have experiences, but in my limited knowledge and to the people who I have talked to, the reverse is not as usual, and it's a transition which seems difficult. And people then recommend that if you want to go into product, make a very decision, because you won't be able to track back. So it's
Track back what? Like, what do you
like
mean by?
from products, not track back, sorry, transition back from product to engineering or engineering to product if you reach a certain level.
No, I wouldn't entirely agree with that because, like I said, Janika, this is about growth mindset, right? Like when let's say, you are a product manager and you decide to go back into, say, like you're at a senior level and you want to become a senior engineer, you'll have to do some level of prep, right? Like when you apply as an engineer, you'll have to do some level of lead coding, go through system designs, and there are plenty of opportunities, plenty of companies, and yeah, you can always go back. Again, it all goes back into having that kind of growth mindset, I would say.
Thank you. It was really insightful, and it, I think, took off some burden off my shoulder, I would say.
I'm glad.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Hey Kushal, Neha this side. Yeah.
Neha.
So first of all, thank you so much for this insightful session. A similar question on those lines, right? So I have completed my MBA, and then I'm from a non-tech background, and I switched to a product management job recently. So I wanted to understand, there are a lot of resources and content out there on the web, right? But if you can suggest some reliable, resources that I can kind of read for a continuous learning, to develop my tech skills. So yeah.
I can't remember the name exactly, but I would typically follow this YouTuber when I just started. I was freshly kind of interviewing, and she goes step by step across each of the system design and Neha. So for anybody who comes from a non-tech background, right, I would strongly recommend that they get familiar with system design, right? The system design kind of takes you across end to end of how any platform or any application works. And it starts with as simple as, gathering functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and then translating into technical design. So they talk about database designs, what you could use for UX, what gateways you can use, and what your cloud services will look like, and what cloud services are even. I can actually look up and maybe link it to this particular video at a later point in time. But yeah, so if for somebody like you, Neha, I would typically pick a series in, let's say when you go to YouTube, right? I would pick a series that systematically explains one component after another component, and then when you understand everything, you are able to tie it back. After you're done going through the basics, I would look at videos that talk about design of a WhatsApp, or design of a YouTube, or design of a Uber app, right? And then when you understand all these components, it becomes easier for you to tie these
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
And
That makes sense.
yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I would still
Right,
like to know
because
the name of that YouTuber you will. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
all right, yeah.
You know
Thank
what?
you
I
so
can
much.
actually look it up right now while I'm starting to answer some other questions as well. I know that Shadab, are you? If you're still on the call, I'm happy to answer your question, man. Okay. And I know that somebody else had raised their hand. Let me.
Vikas is me, Shweta.
Hey, Shweta, go ahead.
Hi. Actually, my question is a bit related to the previous question, related about the people, the PM aspirants who don't belong to a tech background. So I got your answer with regards to system design. I have recently pursued my PM certification. It was not just a short certification, it was like an end-to-end, I mean, everything that a PM should do or can do from any stage of a product life cycle. So, I can join a company where the product is at any stage and I'll be ready to take it up. That
Nice.
kind of a thing. And I also secured the first position in for 2 capstone projects. So the thing is, like, I feel confident about what can happen in a real life scenario. Plus, I don't come from a BTech background, but at the same time, I've worked in a software company for 5 years where my designation on papers was not that of a PM or anything related to a tech designation, but I have learned internally everything where I was asked to work as a QA tester. Then I understood what is SDLC, and I've worked around that environment. So although I know everything, but then on papers it does not prove anything. And even if
Right.
even if I put in some responsibilities that coincide with product management responsibilities and roles, so I have been a product manager for 5 months on papers. That was my last designation. But I'm not sure if that will even be considered because of the duration. Now the thing is, but after that, now that I'm very confident about everything, it's a bit difficult to even if I apply, what are the chances that I would be selected, or how do we take this forward? Because nothing is on papers. Everything is based on what I speak and how my interview goes and and there's one more obstacle is that, a stakeholder management, where you rightly said that we need to understand the engineering team and how the limitations are and things like that. So, coming from a non-tech background, and even if I'm exposed to the software engineering environment, but I won't be aware of every other thing. So how do we tackle these situations, and what do you suggest? Like, if the engineering manager is supportive enough, that's good, which was there in my previous company, but that will not always happen. So even if I get in as an associate product manager, I'll always have a product manager to work under. But when I'm handling almost everything, if that is what is expected out of me, then how do I handle the obstacles or the challenges that come in, and not just relating to we didn't deploy this feature, or we couldn't do this. It's not just that, it's even about talking the engineering language. So I know of one book which is Swiped to Unlock, to understand the basic functionalities of tech from a product management for a product manager. But apart from that, I don't feel confident about how do we interact, and I know it will happen through working with engineers. But what do you suggest? How do we start off with these things, and how do we balance being in good books of our stakeholders?
Oh, that's Shweta, I must admit, this is a fantastic question, right? And a lot of PM aspirants actually face this problem, right? The short answer, Shweta, is if you never try, you'll never know, right? What I mean by that is, I can theoretically tell you, hey, you know what? For you to stay afloat in water, you'll have to hold your breath, learn how to float, flap your hands, flap your legs and whatnot, right? But the actual true skill comes when you actually take the plunge into the water, right? And I would translate, to start with, to answer your number one question, will you get the job 100%, right? You will have to translate your existing experience into product management experience. What I mean by that is, there will always be aspects within your existing job or that were of previous experience that will translate into some level of product management experience, right? Because there are different phases. There's planning, there's analysis, design, implementation, testing, and integration and maintenance, right? So you must have been in one part or the other, and product management touches all the parts. So I would tweak my resume in a way that it reflects my experience in a way. So that way you'll get your entry through the door. That's number one. Number two, about you having maintaining a good relationship and having good stakeholder management, that will come with time, Shweta, and it's completely fine, right? You will it be difficult initially? 100% yes. But will you get used to it? 100% yes, right? So it's until you try, you're never going to know. And this ties back into one point that I mentioned, where this is again about growth mindset, right? You make a personal journal when you have meetings and you're talking to different people. You will have to do a true introspective, be true to yourself at the end of the day, make some notes. What do you think you did well? What do you think you didn't do well? And what do you think you can do to improve? And this is an iterative process, Shweta, right? You'll probably have to do this for about 4 to 6 months. It is going to be uncomfortable, and it's completely fine. It happens to everybody. Nobody knows everything. Literally nobody knows everything, right? And it's true to, I've been with, you're not going to believe it. Like I've worked with people who have like 30 plus years of experience at Microsoft. And, they teach you humility in so many ways, because what they don't know, they don't know. They will tell you that, hey, I don't know how this works. So please tell me how this works, right? And it's completely normal to ask. If somebody does not entertain your question in a team, you're probably in the wrong company, because that's not the culture you want to be in, right? So I would start with, go dive in, be brave, dive in, take the job, do your best. You will eventually learn.
Okay.
And if you've come this far, where you've taken courses, you've tried to understand, you've read books, and you have such a detailed question, I'm pretty sure you'll do well.
Thank you so much.
Just to add to that, Shweta, I think what matters is, as Vikas mentioned, no one knows everything, and it's not expected also, right? Everyone knows, a single person knows every aspect of everything required for a product or platform. What matters is, of course, a lot of very tight feedback mechanism of you introspecting and getting feedback from your peers and your leaders of what's going well, what's not going well. And if you're looking at personally upskilling or getting more knowledgeable, optimize for rate of growth or rate of your learning, and don't worry about what the end goal is going to look like. Just focus on learning faster, getting better at something faster than your previous self, right? Or a day before, or a week before, or a month before. Just focus on that. Trust me, you will not know when you overcome the barrier of you thinking about not knowing specific items. You would then shift your goalpost to something bigger, and you continue doing that. That's it.
Thanks, Kushal. Thanks, Vikas. It was really encouraging, and I'm looking forward to a great future in the product space. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do absolutely well. Yeah. Awesome. For Anand has a question for legacy products. If my role involves a major portion of product operation parts rather than product development, how do I enhance my core PM skills? The easiest way for you to do that is, to talk to existing product managers in your team or in your organization, and understand what they're doing day in and day out, and make sure you start understanding how they go about gathering customer requirements, how they write product specifications, what they do on an everyday basis, how they go about running their scrums, and how they go about managing their engineering teams. And I would start with shadowing them every day, like spend at least a couple of hours shadowing them. And that's how you would kind of gain insights into what product managers at product development primarily do. And that will somehow translate into your experience as a PM of product operations, Anand. That's the easiest way. Of course, you can always read books, learn through videos and whatnot, but I would start with shadowing, because the kind of experience that you get in person by directly talking to them is a lot different from what you would gain from reading books and videos, right? Okay, any?
Kushal, I have one question, can I?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Vikas, for whatever the presentation you have shown. Was really great, but very much insightful. So I have one question. So currently, if you want to make any data-driven decision, depending on the KPI we are followed. So currently, people are using the machine learning algorithms and that kind of stuff. So if you want to analyze the algorithms and if you want to talk to the architects and all those stuff, so how because I'm from the tech background, but I sometimes find I'm not that involved for understanding the requirement and all those stuff. So how I can improve my skills from because right now we are moving to the ML and AI. So how to follow that model and how to understand that stuff. Currently, my projects are not using that, but if in other projects they are using. But if whenever I talk to the architect, they expect me to be knowing all the stuff. So it becomes sometimes it become difficult. But I'm following that part. But sometimes it happens that PM should know all those stuff and then goes to the architects. That kind of thing.
Okay. No, I think it's a fair. I think some of us can be in situations where we don't entirely know what we're getting into. But Rohit, to start off with, right, I would understand what artificial intelligence itself is, right? It primarily has like three parts, right? One is artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and one is artificial intelligence itself, which then is primarily made up of three different things. Now, I'm not going to get into too many technical things. In terms of machine learning models, you'll need to understand what supervised models are and what unsupervised models are. And keep in mind, today's artificial intelligence is popular because of one main thing, which is neural networks, right? Or deep learning, as we call it. This is essentially a bunch of, if you imagine a brain, right, they have different nodes, right, across different sections. And the way that decision making works is that you add in a bunch of inputs, and then it translates into one output, so to speak. So machine learning is essentially A to B, to put it in simple terms. You train a model based on a bunch of data that you give it, right? And then it will give you an answer. A simple example of machine learning model can be email spam filtering, right? This is something that we implemented at long ago at Citrix, right? Where we would get like millions of emails, and we would train our particular model to understand which is a good email and which is a bad email, right? That's it. Very simple. Right. So even if you send thousands of emails, it's able to easily filter out and says, oh, this is a bad email, so let me just not send it. Right. Just giving you an example of spam filtering as a machine learning model. So the way that if I were you, I would go to Coursera and take up a course that is conducted by Andrew Ng. He's like the AI, demigod today, I would say, right? Take his course. You can finish it in less than 7 or 8 hours, and it'll give you a good understanding of what you'll need to do. And in terms of the metrics, just go ahead with what your analytics platform. I don't know if you guys are using AWS CloudWatch, or I don't know what analytics tool you guys use. Use the existing ones. You don't need to do any of the ML modeling. There are dedicated data and ML teams, machine learning engineers that work and do this kind of things, but you'll have to get a good understanding. And for you to get an understanding, go to Coursera, take the course from Andrew and Jay. It is phenomenally simple and great for your understanding.
Okay, thanks Vikas for that help. That was really great. So I will go to that and
Yeah, Andrew and Jay,
definitely
yes.
help. Yeah, definitely help me. Okay,
Yeah, I
thanks,
think just to
Kushal and
reiterate,
Nitin.
Rohit, yeah, I think work on understanding the fundamentals first, and then getting to the depth of what what the state of the art is, or like what's the max capability of a particular technology is. I think you need to work backward from what is expected of you, or what are these architects expecting for you to know, right? What is the I/O? What's the input output? Try to grasp those fundamentals first, and then you can build. Since it takes time, you can slowly and gradually build your foundation. First the foundation, and then on top of the building on top of it. Right.
Okay, thanks, Kushal. I will take this one. Yeah, sure. Thanks for input.
You're welcome. Cool. We still have a few minutes, folks. We can. Okay, we're out of time, but we're happy to answer like a question or two.
Yep.
In case we do not have any further questions, maybe we will. I'll just check if you have any questions on the LinkedIn Live. I just received a message. Okay, no questions on LinkedIn Live as well. Cool. I think we're looking good in that case, Vikas.
Awesome.
All right, folks who are dialing in from LinkedIn Live, thank you for joining us. Folks who have joined us on Zoom, again, thanks for taking the time on a busy weekday evening to join us and listen to us. Vikas, great presentation.
Thank
It
you,
was
Kushal.
not death by PPT, trust me. It was super engaging, even for me. And thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thanks for being a part of
Thank
PM
you for
School.
the opportunity. No, I really appreciate it.
You're
Thanks,
welcome. Folks, have a great rest of the evening. And should you be interested in knowing more about the PM School flagship program, which is an 8-week, very focused bootcamp kind of an upskilling platform, please do reach out to Priyal. She would have sent the invites to all of you for today's session. We will be topping that mail up with some information about PM School as well. Do check out our micro courses. These are bite-sized, I would say, specific topic-based courses which we have on our platform. If you are very specific to learn about very specific topics, technology or product strategy, design, etc. And other than that, in case you are on this journey to bag or to crack your first product roles, we wish you all the best. And please do reach out to us at PM School or Vikas or LinkedIn in case you like any support from us or want any questions answered. All right. With that, we thank you, Shweta. So with that, we end today's session. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.